I was gonna just call this video, 18-year-old man talks about children's TV show for far too long, but I feel like that might alienate my hardcore DuckTales fans found amongst my 42 subscribers, so... Over lockdown, I wanted something really long and tedious to do with my time, that just, I could just slowly be working towards. And so I was like, I could just watch a bunch of stuff, a bunch of something. My original plan was watch all 14 Winnie the Pooh films, but I had a lot of trouble finding all 14 Winnie the Pooh films, so I settled for watching all 57 episodes of the new DuckTales and then ranking them. I watched DuckTales a lot as a kid, and so I thought, yeah, I'll do DuckTales since I haven't watched it since I'm a kid. It was the 1987 version, of course, and then in 2017 they rebooted it, and so I was like, yeah, I'll watch that. I was gonna do the original DuckTales and go and review that, but the original DuckTales has like 65 episodes in season 1 alone. And I wanted something long and tedious to do, but that's too long and tedious for me. But then as well, I'd seen like most of the episodes, so I thought, well, I should do something kind of entirely new, and that's why I watched the 2017 reboot. I'd heard really positive things, and it's a faithful reboot, and like at times it's better than the original, and it only had like 50-something episodes, so that was appealing. I mean, obviously the thing here is it is a show aimed at children, and at the end of the day, that is what it's going to be. It's a product of Disney, But I thought it was good. I don't know if it's a combination of just like the sheer lockdown boredom as well as my nostalgia for the original or whatever, but I thought it was a pretty solid reboot, and almost every episode I had like a relatively good time with. There's a couple stinkers, but like overall, it's pretty good. I'd probably say it's better than the original. I feel like I only like the original because it's nostalgic. I feel like if I did go and watch every single episode of the original DuckTales, I would probably want to sort of kill myself in various ways. So I think that going for something that's a bit more modernized, a bit more for today's sort of my attention span is better. I'm going to keep some of my reasoning really short, and I'm sure everyone watching will sort of appreciate that, because I don't really want this video to be any longer than like 20 minutes. It's just me talking about DuckTales. So if a 15-something minute video of me talking about DuckTales doesn't sound like your thing, there's probably not much I could do to change your mind. Yeah, the reason I'm going to keep short on these, there's no point going into like every single plot detail. As I work my way through, I'll probably have less and less to say since I've sort of covered most of the characters as I'm going through. I suppose it's worth saying spoilers. Every episode has the possibility of being entirely spoiled by me here, so be wary of that. Without any further ado, here's my ranking of all 57 episodes of current DuckTales. I'll also quickly say, Season 3, we're only a third of the way in. It's on hiatus currently, so we've only got 7 episodes of Season 3. So at the time of recording, there's only 57 episodes. At number 57, the worst episode, we have Season 1, Episode 7, The Infernal Internship of Mark Beeks. Mark Beeks is the first, like, new villain kind of introduced. So, like, the main villains that Scrooge encounters are of sort of Flintheart Glomgold and the Beagle Boys and Magica Dispel and Goldie O'Gills and stuff like that. And they're all from the original 87 show. Mark Beeks is a new one because sort of there's the rivalry obviously between Glomgold and Scrooge about who's the richest duck in Duckburg, and Mark Beeks is this like young, new, spunky, like entrepreneur technology character, which makes sense. I just think he's lame. I get what they're doing. He's a joke on Mark Zuckerberg, which when I watched the episode, I thought, hey, this guy, wouldn't it be funny if he was called like Mark Zuckerberg? And then I googled it, and apparently they were going to name him that, but they couldn't for legal reasons. But he's a very obvious Mark Zuckerberg parody. Like, he has too much money that he doesn't know what to do with. He's really selfish. He thinks he's the center of attention. It's quite a funny sort of social commentary, but like other than that, it's like whatever. The whole episode sort of revolves around this like rivalry between Huey and Dewey, voiced by Abed Nadir, and then Joe Ralphio or Sonic the Hedgehog, depending on how old you are. But they have this rivalry of who's going to get the internship, and I just didn't care. And every episode has an A plot, and this was the A plot, and then there's a B plot. And the B plot usually, if you don't like the A plot, the B plot usually can like tide you over a bit. There was like a Scrooge B plot, but nothing really happened. It was kind of lame. Season 1, Episode 3, The Great Dime Chase. You will see that Season 1 has most of the stinkers. Season 2 and 3 are like really solid. It's just Season 1 is really, it doesn't know what it is yet, you know? That's shown especially through the fact that Episode 3 of Season 1 is this low. You'd hope it would have been a stronger opening, but... This one's about Scrooge, voiced by the 10th Doctor, teaching Louis, voiced by Panda, how to earn money. Yeah, and then Dewey and Webby voiced by Kate McCucci. I don't have a funny character to give her. She's not been in much that I'm familiar with. And they've got like a conspiracy subplot which actually runs throughout like most of Season 1, and it's probably the best part of Season 1. It's this like what happened to their mum, and it's the only part of this episode that's kind of okay to watch. The rest of it's just lame. Season 1, Episode 4, The Beagle Birthday Blowout. But the titling of this one I'm not really sure, because on IMDb it's The Beagle Birthday Massacre, and then on Disney Plus it's also The Beagle Birthday Massacre, but in the episode it says The Beagle Birthday Blowout, which makes way more sense since it's alliterative, but whatever. This one introduces the character of Lena. This is her first episode. She's a good character. She does way more later on. She's okay in this episode. She's introduced well. She's Magica De Spell's niece, which is a cool dynamic, I suppose. As you can guess, it's a lot about the Beagle Boys. The Beagle Boys, I don't think are that entertaining to watch. I preferred them in the 87. This is sort of the one case of where I think that the 87 show was better. They handled the Beagle Boys better. I also don't like the new designs that much. They're okay, I guess. Season 1, Episode 2, The Day Trip of Doom. This one's like Huey, Dewey, and Louie go to this like arcadey, like kiddie playgroundy thing. And they all do their own thing and really enjoy it. But Webby sort of ruins each of their things they want to do because she doesn't understand how like socializing works, and that was a good enough conflict, I guess, for the episode. I like that the boys are getting some individualization. They've always kind of had an identity crisis as far as Huey, Dewey, and Leo as characters have gone. The show does I'll say this now, and I'll be saying it so much more. One of the best things the reboot does is individualize the three boys. Like, they feel like three separate characters, which it's about time. The Beagle Boys are in this episode. This is their introductory episode. It's whatever. Season 1, Episode 8, The Living Mummies of Tothra. This one was not bad. The first four I just said, they're the actual, like, I think, stinker episodes. Going forward, the rest are pretty good. This one, they go to Egypt. It feels quite like sort of DuckTales adventure, kind of what DuckTales should feel like, which was nice. And they meet these, like, mummies, these like, Egyptian mummies in the temple. And they're essentially, the guys come and they convince them to give up their religion, essentially. And there's quite a good little gag that Scrooge is trying to convince them of, like, the scientific reasons of why they should give up their religious beliefs. But it's essentially that Launchpad McQuack gives them a burrito, and they think it's, like, amazing, and that's why they leave. Season 1, Episode 12, The Mcmystery at Mcduck Manor. This one's like a murder mystery kind of thing. Yeah, Dewey has this like Daft Punk helmet on, which he's called Daft Duck. And it's just an obvious, like, he's just wearing Guy Manuel's Daft Punk helmet, but it's like a duck-shaped thing. It's quite funny. And all his like famous, like, all of the villains introduced so far are like the suspects at this party. But we're only like 12 episodes in, so we've got like 5 villains. It just feels like they don't have any other characters to use. Season 1, Episode 20, Sky Pirates in the Sky. This one's like whatever. Louis has this like Gollum conflict where he has this gem, and it's meant to like bring out your dark side. And there's these like funny shot reverse shots of like Louis and then his face in this like diamond crystal thing, like being like Gollum. He's like, don't trust any of them, stuff like that. Like, I thought that was a funny little parody, but this one's Season 2, Episode 11, The Golden Spear. This one is like a continuation of an episode that I rate higher up later, so I'll cover more of the stuff about it in that one. The mystery of Dela Duck, who is the nephew's mother, is sort of a main thing, and it sort of gets solved, and she comes back in season 2, and she's been stuck on the moon essentially. The moon people are really... I hate the moon people. They don't feel that DuckTalesy. I think the fact that they look more humanoid than animal... Like, season 1, episode 5, Terror of the Terra Firmians. I like them going in the subway, like the Duckburg Underground, I guess. And it was alright. Beakley got a bit more development, which was nice. Season 2, episode 14, Friendship Hates Magic. This one is weird. This one's like Webby gets a new friend and Luna's like kind of jealous. And then Launchpad and Beakley also bond as friends. Launchpad and Beakley was the best part of the episode because as characters they're barely ever together, and so I thought it was nice that they were doing something with those two. They kind of use whatever excuse they can to have magic save the day at the end. At vital plot points, it's like, okay, fair enough, like sure, magic. But like, just sometimes there's like a plot resolution and it doesn't make sense. This is the main perpetrator of this. Who is Gizmo Duck? This isn't the Gizmo Duck introduction. I will talk about the Gizmo Duck introduction later. But Fenton, voiced by Alexander Hamilton, he's Gizmo Duck, obviously. And this is sort of about him finding his footing, becoming a bit more Gizmo Ducky. Season 1, episode 6, The House of the Lucky Gander. Majority of the characters from the 87 show are in this one, which I'm pretty happy about because they're pretty good characters. Gladstone Gander has like ridiculously good luck. Donald has insanely bad luck, and so he invites them all over to sort of bond with them, but secretly he just wants Donald, hoping that his like ridiculously bad luck will break him out of this casino that he can't leave. He's sort of bound to it. Which I thought the art and design of all the Asian related stuff were cool. Season 2, episode 15, The Dangerous Chemistry of Gander D. Gander D's Fenton's love interest, and she gets introduced here, which is, I'm okay with this. The issue here is, once again, Mark Beeks is the main villain of this episode, and he's just not a good villain. There's like a funny King Kong parody at the end where Mark Beeks has taken some like special juice. Season 2, episode 17, Whatever Happened to Donald Duck? Once Dela comes back from the moon, there's this really dumb like bit where Donald like notices the spaceship coming down. Dela's already gotten out and he's like, wow, what's this spaceship? And he gets stuck in the spaceship and then he gets sent to the moon, and it's just ridiculously dumb. The moon stuff just really pisses me off. They do like, there's like 6 episodes dedicated to this moon stuff. There is a B plot in this episode of Dewey and Webby trying to solve what happened to Donald because they think it's a bit suspicious that he's been away, and there's this great film noir like kind of detective B plot with them, with like narration, and like the way they animate it and color it is really cleverly done, and the episodes where they sort of explore concepts like that do, in my eyes, way stronger. Season 2, episode 13, Raiders of the Doomsday Vault. Dela's back in this one. The timeline of these becomes slightly confusing because of the fact that when important things happen, I've ranked those higher, and not like my ranking isn't chronological, it's a ranking. I don't mind that Huey and Louie are not in this one, and it's just Dewey. Dewey's sort of this like adventurous type, and it makes sense that he's doing this with Dela. Season 2, episode 23, The Richest Duck in the World. Season 1, episode 11, Beware the Buddy System. Buddy being like an acronym. This is the Fenton Crackshell introduction episode. He's good. I like Lin-Manuel Miranda as his voice. I think he does a good job. Yeah, it's cool. Season 1, episode 15, The Golden Lagoon of White Agony Plains. I like having a Scrooge-focused episode. I think he's underused as a character. He's in most episodes, but I think he could be used way better because he's such a good character. Season 2, episode 7, Whatever Happened to Dela Duck? This is the sort of backstory episode of Dela Duck. Half of it's done through sort of like how The Martian does it, where it's like vlogs, I guess, on the moon. There's no B plot though, and so the whole like 22-minute episode is just Dela like talking. However, the moon theme from the DuckTales game, they use it. Like, they reuse it, and it's like a running theme for Dela. And if you think you don't know it, you do know it, because it's this. they used that like remastered it, made it less like 8-bit. It's so good. Season 2, episode 5, Stalkings in Duckburg. Stalkings is introduced earlier in the show, but his introduction episode is higher on my list. He's the Duck Hercules. The conflict didn't really feel like it existed that much in this episode. Like, Donald's just kind of annoyed Stalkings is there, but like he's not that much of a pain. Episode 1, season 1, double parter episode, woohoo / Escape 2 / From Atlantis. The second episode, the second part of this is called Escape 2 / From Atlantis. The first part is called Woohoo, so together they are Woohoo / Escape 2 / From Atlantis. Decent establishing. There's not really much plot in this episode, and that's just because they're trying to sort of establish why the nephews are there, the relationship between Scrooge and Donald, and then the second half is more like, oh, we'll do an adventure. I liked the introduction of Flintheart Glomgold, who's voiced by Reaper from Overwatch, but sounds not the same, but that's just good voice acting. Season 1, episode 16, Day of the Only Child. It's a day where all of the boys have their own thing, and it's like the day that they can pretend that they weren't born triplets that are associated with each other all the time, and that they can be their own person. And I liked this episode because it gives them especially a lot of character development. Season 1, episode 19, The Other Bin of Scrooge McDuck. This being a bin where he keeps all of like his magical stuff that he's found. Lena becomes a stronger character. Scrooge was really good in this episode as well. Season 2, episode 12, Nothing Can Stop Dela Duck. She got sent off to the moon before the triplets were born, and so she's never met them. And so this is sort of her conflict of like, she doesn't really know how to be a mother, and they've grown up just fine without her. I like the idea of like Dela not really knowing how to cope and thinking she's inadequate. I thought that was a good theme to explore in the episode. This is the one where Donald flies off though, so it loses points. But Season 1, episode 21, The Secrets of Castle Mcduck. This one, Scrooge goes and meets his parents, who are alive. Season 2, episode 1, The Most Dangerous Game, Night. This one, they want to play board games. Season 3, episode 1, The Challenge of the Senior Junior Woodchucks. This one's mostly a Huey episode. He's going against Violet, who's Webby's other friend that got introduced in that magic episode I didn't like. And it's like they're both junior woodchucks, and they want to become the next senior junior woodchuck. And it's like they have a competition of who wins. Season 2, episode 22, Glom Tales. This is a good one. This is a villain-centered episode about Glomgold and getting every villain so far to try and fight Scrooge. And I think it was fun. The theme song they changed to be like a Flintheart Glomgold themed DuckTales intro, but they like animate him behind a crappy green screen, and like it's just like the way they do it is just like insanely clever. I like Glomgold thinking he was sort of the center of attention in this episode. It was fun. However, there is like a resolution of the episode. It's just a lame resolution. Season 2, episode 8, Treasures of the Found Lamp, which it got stronger as it went on. At first I was kind of like, who's this guy, what's going on? They introduced this like I think he's a wolf called Jin. He's this like Middle Eastern ninja. For like a one-off character, I thought he was quite strong, and I'd like to see some more of him in season 3 or 4. Season 2, episode 10, The 87-Cent Solution. I don't really know what I like about it. It was just a clever episode. Season 1, episode 17, From the Confidential Case Files of Agent 22. This is a bit of a backstory kind of thing between Scrooge and Beakley. And Webby was one of the main characters in this one as well, which I liked. I think she's a solid character that gets used pretty well overall. Season 2, episode 20, The Golden Armory of Cornelius Coote. This one felt a bit like the Gravity Falls Irrational Treasure episode, because it's sort of themed with like colonial American history and like pilgrims and cranberry sauce and stuff. And I thought that was all right. It's them sort of exploring this museum, trying to solve the mystery, which is kind of exactly what happens in the Gravity Falls Irrational Treasure episode, where they're in this museum trying to solve this mystery. Season 2, episode 18, Happy Birthday, Doofus Drake. This one's a really solid one. I don't actually know if I've spoken about Goldie yet, but she's been in a few episodes so far. She's like Scrooge's like villain / love interest. But Louie and Goldie get paired together for this episode because they're both like con artists, and it's really good. They also introduce this character called Boyd, who gets used later on, and he's really good. There is this B plot with Huey and Dela playing this video game though, and it's kind of boring, but not only boring, it's really weirdly like outdated. Like this is easily one of the worst jokes in the whole show, because they're playing this video game, and keep in mind this episode's made in I think 2018, and at the end there's like this really weird reference to Dragon Ball Z where Huey's like leveling up loads and Dela goes, his power level's over 9,000, and then he goes like Super Saiyan. And it's really weird. Season 2, episode 8, The Outlaw Scrooge McDuck. Scrooge and Goldie back in like a western setting. And there's one of Fenton Crackshell's ancestors back there. And then there's also Gyrogilus, who's, I think maybe I haven't mentioned this before, he's in a lot of episodes. He's like the inventor guy who's voiced by Dean Pelton. He's there just because he time traveled there accidentally, and so there's this like sort of Back to the Future Part 3 kind of joke. So there's this like relationship between Scrooge, Goldie, Fenton Crackshell's ancestor, and then just like modern day Gyrogilus because he accidentally traveled back episode, and it's good. It's like framed as Scrooge telling Louis a story. Also, Fenton Crackshell ancestor has this moment of becoming Gizmo Duck, but it's like a western Gizmo Duck. Season 3, episode 7, The Rumble for Ragnarok. This one's like a Norse mythology themed episode, but instead of it being like Norse battles, it's a wrestling episode. Season 2, episode 2, The Depths of Cousin Fethry. I think Cousin Fethry's a great character. He's used a couple times later on in the show. I really enjoy him. This one I know is a little bit of a controversial one because the whole episode was centered around Huey and Dewey meeting with Cousin Fethry and learning about his research. And I thought it was fun. There's no B-plots. If you don't care about it, you're kind of stuffed for 22 minutes. I didn't mind Louis being benched for this episode. I feel like if it was Huey or Dewey, I would mind. Louis is my least favourite of the three. Season 1, episode 9, The Impossible Summit of Mount Everest. This one is they're climbing top of they want to climb to the top of Mount Everest, and there's a bit of a B-plot with Launchpad in the skiing village. It's just good. It's just good. It feels like a classic DuckTales adventure. Season 1, episode 12, The Missing Links of Moorshire. This one's a golf-themed episode. It's very like Scottish, and there's like wisps and Scottish mythology mixed in, and I thought it was really good. There's some pretty good stakes. Each brother was sort of present, but they felt like really individualized. Season 1, episode 14, Jaws. But the S is a $sign because it's like a money shark in the money bin. Season 1, episode 23, The Shadow War. This is Magica sort of coming to power and using her like shadow minions to try and take over Duckburg. And this is the season 1 two-parter finale. There's this great gag in the episode, and there's this running joke in the show that no one understands what Donald says, and very rarely can you understand literally what he's saying. And so for this episode, Gyrogilus gives him this voice modulator, and for just the whole episode, he's just voiced by Don Cheadle instead. Season 3, episode 5, Louis 11. This is, I thought when I read the title, I assumed it was going to be like, Louis 11 years old. Then realizing they're triplets, why would it just be Louis? No, it's Louis 11 like parts to a perfect heist. And they're trying to pull off a heist in this episode, and it's really good. Daisy Duck's introduced in this episode. Finally, the 3 Caballeros in this episode. Again, I'll talk about the 3 Caballeros in like a minute or two when I get to the main 3 Caballeros episode. This was really good. Season 2, episode 21, Time Foon. This is the obligatory time travel episode. I like that it was a butterfly effect and things are getting progressively worse and worse in their modern day as Louis goes and affects things in the past secretly. It's like a storm going on in the episode, which is called the El Pato Storm, which is Spanish for the duck. And I know this and thought it was funny because it's what I named my Animal Crossing island. Season 1, episode 10, The Spear of Selene. Season 3, episode 3, Double O Duck in You Only Crash Twice. This was so good. This is like a James Bond parody episode. Where essentially Launchpad and Dewey are in this VR game, and there's an actual villain of Fowl trying to take them over, but they don't realize it. They just think it's part of the game. But they also have this like modern James Bond parody song in it, like the Adele one or the Billie Eilish one. They have this like melancholy James Bond style song that Dewey sings, and they use it when Launchpad makes this like sacrifice, and it's so good.
Launchpad, why are you overthinking this?
Because I want to be good enough for you.
Of course you're good enough for me. You're my best friend.
That intellect I'll never see, so I must go.
For Dewey and Duckburg.
Number 9 is Last Christmas, which is season 2, episode 6, and there's a lot of joke here on A Christmas Carol because Scrooge McDuck is obviously named after Ebenezer Scrooge as being this grumpy man who only likes money, and so I liked the sort of references to A Christmas Carol they used. It's like the Christmas episode, and I thought that was nice. At 8, we have season 3, episode 6, Astro Boyd. Boyd, who I mentioned earlier, he's this little robot thing that Gyro Gearloose invented, and this is like his backstory episode kind of, and they go to Japan and Gyro gets some development on why he's such a grump. It's about everyone thinking that Boyd's essentially a weapon but he doesn't want to be, so it's like Astro Boy, Iron Giant kind of. 7 is season 2 episode 19, A Nightmare on Kilmotor Hill. This one was a pretty cool concept episode. They're all trapped in the same dream, but then each of their dreams become part of it, and they each explore every other character's dream. Sort of insight into each of the characters and what they wish they could have and what their like perfect reality would be. Number 6 is season 2 episode 17, The Duck Knight Returns. If you don't know, Darkwing Duck is a real existing animated TV show which was around similar time as the original DuckTales, and essentially Darkwing Duck's this like Batman duck character. And in the show, Launchpad McQuack is really into this TV show, and this becomes like a reoccurring thing that he really likes Darkwing Duck. And essentially, they're making a reboot film of Darkwing Duck because the show never had an ending. As well, the director of this reboot is voiced by Edgar Wright, which I thought was a great cameo. And essentially, they didn't hire the original Darkwing Duck actor to play this Darkwing Duck in this reboot film. And Launchpad, as he bonds with this new guy, realizes maybe he is better, and the other guy is just this washed up actor that is kind of obsessed with being the center of attention. And it does this shift of this guy who you think should be like, oh, what, they're so selfish not having him be it, become the villain. And then at the end, he becomes Duck, which is like Darkwing Duck's main villain. And so it's all within this TV show film, but then actually becomes Darkwing Duck, but within the DuckTales. It's weird to explain, but it was phenomenal. Top 5. Number 5 is season 2, episode 3, The Ballad of Duke Baloney. This is a weird one, and I feel like not a lot of people would rate this that high, but then again, you, who's watching it right now, does not care and is not that into DuckTales, so it's fine. A really just random thing is I always love like stormy, like seafaring, like settings. I think they've got such a good atmosphere, and this whole episode is sort of centered around that. The plot here is essentially Flintheart Glomgold loses his memory and doesn't know who he is, and then becomes this like fisherman in this sleepy fishing town, and I thought it was good. Number 4, season 2, episode 4, The Town Where Everyone Was Nice. Okay, they bring back the 3 caballeros in this episode, which, if you don't know, I don't even know. I can't remember them ever being in original DuckTales, but the 3 caballeros is Donald Band, and it's Donald, Jose Carioca, and Panchito Pistoles, and they're these 3 caballeros, and there's the college band, and I love them. I've always thought they were great characters that were never used, like they were never spoken about in Disney. Like at the parks, there's like one single ride that's kind of hidden away, which is themed around them, and they've got like one film from the 40s, and they had one TV show like a decade ago, and it's like they're never used, but they're great characters. Anyway, they're in this episode, and it's mostly about them and Donald, and it's so good. I just love them as characters, and I'm so glad they're in it. Number 3 is The Last Crash of the Sun Chaser, which is season 1, episode 22. Not a lot happened. The character's trapped on a plane, like talking, but it's really good. Number 2 is season 3, episode 2, The Quack Pack. This episode is insane. This one, essentially, they're trapped in a sitcom, and it's never like animated beyond the fourth wall. Like there's a live audience. It's like animated like there's a live audience, and it's essentially Huey slightly realizing how weird like the laugh track going on in the background is, and why everyone pauses after they say their lines really weirdly. And it's Huey like gradually realizing they're in a sitcom and trying to solve why they're in a sitcom, and it's like insanely clever. Because if I was a child watching this episode, I would be like, what? But I'm a bit older than a child and picked up on like the meta humor and stuff. This episode was so good. Ugh, there's so much to say about this episode, but it's amazing. Number 1 is the season 2 finale 2-parter, season 2 episode 24, Moonvasion. This was great. This was like an Avengers style, like all the characters we've introduced so far coming together to fight the Moon People. I don't like the Moon People. I've said I don't like the Moon People before, but they were good in this episode alone. And then at the end, there's also this whole like hinting at Foul, which is the fiendish organization of world larceny from the 1987 show, becoming the villain in season 3. It was just a great episode. There's a lot of really great humor in it. It was a lot of fun. The stakes were good. There we go. I've been filming for over an hour, so hopefully when I cut this down it will be not that long. So yeah, that's every episode so far of DuckTales ranked. I'm probably never going to do a video like this again because I don't really care that much. I just wanted to watch DuckTales and wanted to tell you that I watched DuckTales, and that would mean that your respect for me has just soared through the roof, knowing that me, an adult, watches Disney's children program in his spare time. One more thing.